Hello, good evening. Uh, Hello, good evening. Welcome Bumi. Welcome Bimbola. Welcome John. Great to have you guys here this evening. So we've made sure that network won't come against this evening's class. So we've put a lot of things in place here. So hopefully we have a great live session. If you can hear me, just drop those heart emoji. Welcome, David. Okay, if you can hear me, drop those heart emoji, and also do well to like this video, and also interact and comment as much as you can. Okay, so welcome. So I might not be waiting for a lot of people, so we're just going to start. But like I said, the last class we have had on heuristic audit, due to the network, I think the class actually left us with more questions than answers. So let's start with those of us that are here. Um, if you have any question based on what we did in the last class, can you drop it? I think we would have actually streamed from Google Meet, but that's fine. Good evening, Mr. Justice. Good evening, Mr. Justice. How are you doing? Uh, Volume up. You can't hear. Volume up. They are saying volume up. Volume up. Can you hear now? You should actually be able to hear me. Uh, Mr. Genusoft. Okay. Hope you guys can hear me. John, can you hear me now? You're the one that keeps saying volume up. Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay, I think you can hear me now. If you can't hear me, just let me know in the comment section so I can probably increase my natural volume. Okay. Okay. So, uh, John, you can hear me now. That's fine. Um, so, do you guys have any question based on the heuristic audits workshop we did that's day before yesterday on Friday? Do you have any questions? So you can drop them while I go through them again, because I really want us to understand this and be able to actually do these things. Okay. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and start. So basically, I just want to run a quick revision of what we've done so far in this UX section, okay? And please, I still want to plead with you guys. For those of you that have not been going through the document, it is very important you go through those documents, right? Like I told you, UX is all about information. The information you have will help you become a better UX designer, okay? You might not have money to conduct a lot of research yourself, but you can leverage on what others have actually done, right? And have been using as a framework. You can leverage from those frameworks, okay? So that's why it's important to read. We are not going to read any book for now, because there are a lot of UX books you can actually read, but I wouldn't recommend you reading it now because we actually have a lot we're doing. You have your daily challenge, you have your lessons to read. So maybe by the time we're done with this, right, you can now start reading some books. We are going to share some books later. Books like Lean UX, okay, the design of everyday thing. those two books, they are very important, okay? But most of what we've been doing are actually covered in the book. So let's go ahead. So we started with introduction to UX design. Geniusoft, so sir, mine is not about heuristics but on UX. Please, what's the difference between task and user flow and journey maps? And are they the same thing? Okay, they're not the same thing. We are going to answer that in a bit, okay? We are definitely going to answer that in a bit. So they are not the same thing. So let me take that question from Geniusoft. We are going to be answering this towards the closing of the class. So once you have a question, drop it. Either I pick it or my colleague picks it, okay? Always drop your questions. Okay, so we started from introduction to UI UX design, okay? We started from introduction to UI UX design, and we went ahead to take a look at what UI UX design is all about, okay? And like I said, these things are not for you to cram, but it's important to just know them. Once you understand them, you can actually be able to, you know, define them based on your own understanding. But it's important you understand them. Okay, Abimbola, I think your questions have been noted, and we'll take a look at all those things, okay? So we took a look at what UX design is all about. We said basically it's a multidisciplinary approach focused on enhancing user satisfaction and interaction with the product or service. The most important thing here is user satisfaction, okay? And we kind of said that user satisfaction is directly tied to the profitability of a company. If a user is satisfied, company makes more money. If a user is not satisfied, company won't make money. So UX design is at the core of a company being more profitable and also users being satisfied. So you cannot take away user satisfaction with profitable companies, right? The more a user is satisfied, the more they are willing to spend their money. So when you are employed to be a UX designer, you are there to make sure the company makes more money. Every feature you are coming up with, every feature you are trying to, you know, push for it to be developed or designed must in some ways make sure the company becomes more profitable or makes the user more happy. Like I said, users' happiness is directly tied to company's profitability. If you're not happy, then there's no way the company will make more money. But once the users are happy, they tend to spend more money, okay? So we move ahead. So I'm not reading this, we are just moving ahead because it's kind of revision. I just want us to refresh our mind for those of us that have forgotten some certain things, okay? So Shina Yomi, yes, your question have been noted, and once you drop your questions, it will be noted, and I'm going to answer those questions at the end of this class. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at more on users. We now defined who exactly are these users, right? We said the users, we have end users. These are the ultimate consumers or individual who use the product or service, right? Then we have customers. Users may also be customers, referring to individuals who purchase or subscribe to a product or service. We also have clients, and we also have stakeholders. So you can see that we have different categories of users, but most of the time, anytime you hear people say user experience, most of the time they are referring to the end users, right? It's important you put these people at the back, front, and center. You have to always think about them, empathize with them when designing or developing a product, right? But they are not the only users you should be concerned about. You should also be especially with the stakeholders, because the stakeholders are the ones bringing in all this money. If stakeholders don't bring out the money, then you can't even, you know, develop whatever it is you have, whatever idea it is you have. So you have to pay attention to the stakeholders and also the end users. These are all the users you should be taking note of. In fact, if what you are going to be designing is going to be affected by your colleague at work, you also have to consider that person, right? So there are a lot of things that comes into play when you talk of users, because that person indirectly is also a stakeholder, right? So let's move on. From here, we talk about what exactly is the real goal of UX. Like I just mentioned earlier, at the core of UX is basically making more money for the business with what? Happy customers, because a happy customer pays more, company makes more money, they increase your salary, and you go balling. But if you don't make customers happy, they leave your platform and go to another platform that makes them happy, okay? So user experience is at the core of making customers happy and also using it to generate more money. So what will you be doing as a UX designer? As a UI UX designer, what exactly are you going to be doing? We talked about 4 main things. We said you are either going to create a new app concept, or you fix UI UX issues on existing app. Take note of this. Fix UI UX issues on existing app. Okay, this is one of the most important one. Like I told you guys, once you are employed in a company as an entry-level designer, one of the things you are going to be doing, you might not really be the one to create new app concept, but you are literally going to be doing a lot of fixing of UI UX issues on their existing app. Okay, you can also discover and add new features based on observation or user requests, and also improve and okay, I think this is supposed to be improve an existing feature. So you see this the last 3, they are very, very important. Okay, before you start talking about creating new app concept, these last 3 very important. Fixing UI UX issues on an existing app, discovering and adding new features based on observation or user request, and also improving on existing feature. Very important. Okay, these are some of the things you'll be doing. And then we now talked about key components of UX design. We said information architecture, visual design, interaction design, and usability. And when it comes to usability, we mentioned accessibility and intuitive navigations and flows. Now, pay very good attention to all these things. Most of these things, the lessons, we've talked about them. Okay, so we are going to take a look at how to do all these things in this section of the boot camp. During this UX, you are going to understand accessibility. The only accessibility we talked about last time was how to, fix colors, right? That was the only thing we talked about. But accessibility is basically beyond colors. Okay, we're going to take a look at all those things. Now we talked about the UX design process. The UX design process, there are different processes when it comes to UX design, but basically you summarize them into 3, right? The research phase, the design phase, and the test phase. Okay, so Kizito, I think I've taken note of your question and we will be answering that, so make sure you don't go away. Kizito, why are you retracting your question? You've asked the question and you are retracting it, and we've already taken note of the question. Okay, if you think it's not important, that's fine, but please, every question is welcome. There is no dumb question. Every question is welcome, right? Ask any question you have. It's very important. So we talked about the UX design process. Basically, 3 things you do anytime you're designing. 3 things you do: you research, you design, you test, you start all over again. Research, design, test. Now, these 3 things, there are some people that have, tried to create different frameworks around it, different processes around it. Okay, so some have more steps than these 3. They just try to differentiate, just try to elaborate the process more. Okay, then, but at the core is basic. You are basically doing these 3 things at the core. No matter the framework you decide to use, you are going to conduct research, you are going to design, and you are going to test, and you are going to keep repeating this. Okay, so under research, you can come up with user persona, market analysis, competitor analysis. Now, when you go to design, you talk about information architecture, wireframing, and prototyping. Now, when you come to test, you talk about usability testing, feedback collection, and iterative improvement. This is the core UX design process. So every process you've heard about or you've come across for around the UX design process, they are all bordered on these 3 main things: research, design, test. Research, design, test. It's an iterative process, which means you keep repeating it, right? It's not a linear process. So you might be at the design stage and you notice that, there is something wrong here, because you've conducted a research, you find out that there is something wrong here, you go back to the drawing board to try to fix that. Once you fix, you test. So it's an iterative process, right? So some of the ones we took a look at under this design process, let me see. Okay, so the journey so far. Okay, I think from here we talked about the journey so far. Okay, we went to the journey so far, and we said from the journey so far we took a look at product development cycle. All right, the product development cycle, we took a look at the brainstorm stage, the define stage, the design stage, the test stage, and the launch stage, right? And after taking a look at those, we said this, you can see the diagram is basically like a circle. It's revolving, right? So we said that this product development, you keep revolving around it. Now, take note, product development cycle is not the same as UX design process. It is not the same. The product development cycle is more encompassing. It's encompassing everything you do in order to launch a product. Meanwhile, the UX design process is basically encompassing what you do to actually design a product that is usable and that is also fulfilling to the users, right? So it's all about the experience on the UX design process. Meanwhile, for the product development cycle, you are looking at the entirety of that product, okay? So we took a look at what exactly makes a good product. The 4 things that makes a good product: usefulness. It must solve users' problem. If your product is not solving users' problem, then your product is not a good product. So a good product must solve users' problem. Number 2, a good product must be usable. It must be clear and easy to use. You don't want to complicate people. You don't want to complicate features. You don't want to complicate things. It should be usable, okay? A good product should delight the user. It should be enjoyable. When you are using a product, you shouldn't feel sad. You shouldn't feel angry. You shouldn't feel frustrated when using a particular product. Imagine using a product and you are trying to achieve one simple thing that the product is supposed to help you achieve, and it's not just working, okay? Imagine you want to watch Netflix and you just can't make it work, right? That would be a very frustrating and non-delightful experience. So a good product should be enjoyable, and also a good product should be equitable. Now, when we talk about equitable, we also refer to accessibility. A good product should be equitable for everyone. It should help everyone, right? Don't design your product and forget things like accessibility, right? Just like imagine building a hospital and you don't add accessibility for people on wheelchair. That would be a very big mistake, right? Because not everyone coming to your hospital will be coming with their 2 legs, right? So it's very important you think of all these things when designing a product. So that's why I said it is informational. When you have these information at the back of your head, when you are designing a product, you will design a better product, okay? From here, we went to basic UX psychology. We talked about all these things. I'm not going to go through them because we're just trying to rush through so that we can head back to what we have for today. We talked about memory, sense making, decision and choice making, cognitive biases, persuasions and influence, motivation, emotions, and delight. Now, it's very important you go back to the portal and study this basic UX psychology. Now, sometimes you people ask, how do you know you are supposed to do this? Questions like, why is it that on a form we used to add the error message? You people have asked questions like, why? How am I supposed to know? Now, like I said, this is 2023. The only way you are supposed to know is by reading some laid down principles. Once you read them, they are informational. They are not technical stuff. Once you read them, you know, oh, so I'm supposed to do this. Now, once you are able to understand that, when you are now designing, once you come across such designs or such scenarios in your design, you remember, oh, I'm actually supposed to do this because we are supposed to do this because of this, right? So this basic UX psychology is very important. How does the human memory work? How do you make sense? How do people make decisions and make choices? You know, cognitive biases, persuasion. How do you persuade and influence people's choices? Motivation, emotion, and delight. When you read these basic UX psychologists, when you read about them, you are going to equip yourself with skills to help you become a better designer, okay? From there, we went to the next one. We talked of laws and principles of UX design. There are a lot of them, but these are some of the basic ones, right? We talked about Hicks law, Fitts law, Gestalt's principle, cognitive load, aesthetic usability effect, and Myers law, okay? The only one I'm just going to remind you guys is this particular one, aesthetic usability effect. In fact, That is the one most companies go for, right? If you are employed as a UI UX designer, they like aesthetic usability effect. They apply it a lot. It's basically saying that users perceive a product that is well designed to be more effective. So even if the product is not effective, if it is very well designed, users will just choose it over the other one. But then, when they now test it and it's not working, they'll be like, oh, this is not good. Okay. But in essence, you have to make sure as you are designing, it is pleasing to the eyes, right? Those of you that have been getting thumbs down on your design, it's because it's not pleasing to the eyes. Fine, right? So yes, we know you are a good designer, but if your design no fine, nobody cares. People will just be like, see scam, that scam be these ones, right? If you see people that have been scammed before, right, especially people that claim they are smart but they were scammed, one of the things you hear them say is that the websites look legit. Maybe you enter the website and maybe they hacked your Facebook. Once you enter the Facebook and it's looking exactly, they built it to look exactly like Facebook, that will convince you to put your details. Then when they finally hack you, but that website look legit, right? But imagine you just enter the website, then the Facebook logo is indented somehow. You just laugh, man, I can't be this. So I never seen this kind of Facebook website before, right? So aesthetic usability effect is one of the most important ones, right? Hicks law, yes, they all matter, but you see, aesthetic usability effect is huge. In fact, sometimes when people go to the supermarket and they want to buy a product they've not probably used before, or maybe when they go to the supermarket and maybe their preferred product is not available, trust me, they keep looking at the other options, the one wey fine pass, the packaging. If that packaging is so fine, they'll say, this one will be close to my own, this one will be closer to original like my own, right? And right, so they say this one will be closer to my own, and then they pick it. Okay, so like I just said, Kizito, sometimes when they pick it, right, when they pick it and it's not solving the problem, they will leave it. But at least your design have made them to pick it. They don't pay. If they don't come back, that's their business. They don't pay. But that is why, as a UX designer, you don't just make products that are aesthetically pleasing. You also want to make products that are valuable, usable, right? Just like we said earlier, under what makes a product very usable. Okay, so someone said, what if the site had an aesthetic issue, not fine, but is solving problem, like Naira Land? Now, this question have always come up on design Twitter, that why is Naira Land the way it is? I can actually tell you, Naira Land is playing a game called legacy design. Okay, like if you ever visit the first web page that was launched on the internet, okay, there is there is no design anywhere. Okay, there is no design on it. If you visit it, you will not see any design. So they are trying to just maintain that that nostalgia, and I think that is what Naira Land is aiming for. Not like they don't want to redesign it, okay? Not that they don't want to redesign it, but I think they are just trying to aim for that nostalgia, and that is what makes them a little bit different, okay? But if they want, they can always redesign it. A time will come when they will decide to redesign it. That's just the truth. Except they want to, keep maintaining that nostalgia. It's a technique. Now we went to UX design frameworks. We talked about this framework. It's just basically a structured approach provided by different people that can help you. Just like we are just starting, right? Because as a UX designer now, as you're just learning, if you're just asked to do something, maybe do a user experience design for an app, you might not know where to really start. So what this framework does is to give us like a structure and tell us, okay, start from here, then from here you move to this step, from this step you move to this step, right? But like I told you guys, at the end of the day, everything you see here, they are doing three things: research, design, test. That's basically what you're doing: research, design, test. In your research process, you do research, when you are designing and when you are testing, you still do research, design, step, test, rinse, and repeat. Basically, that's what you're doing. Okay, we talked about the design thinking framework, the double diamond framework, lean UX, jobs to be done, agile UX, but we didn't go in depth into all these ones. These are things you can actually read later. In fact, there are a lot of them. Right? These are things you can always read later on. But one of the most used one, which was popularized basically, especially by Google and the rest, right, by big tech, is the design thinking framework. Welcome, Thames baby. Is the design thinking framework. Okay, so they made it so popular, and a lot of people use it because it's kind of, a little bit more elaborate, especially for beginners to understand. And then it basically consists of 5 parts. Okay, the empathize stage, basically you can categorize them into 3: understand, explore, materialize. Understand your user, explore options to design, then materialize it, and rinse and repeat. Okay, under the understanding stage, you have to empathize and also define. You empathize with the users, you understand the users, know what their pain point is, and then you define the problem statement. Right, once you define the problem statement, you can now go ahead to ideate. Okay, you can now go ahead to ideate, create solutions, test them, prototype them, test them, and then implement. And as you implement, you have to start again and keep repeating this. Okay, so that is the design thinking framework. Now under this empathize, you have to now do some research if you want to understand your users. Right, that took us to introduction to UX research. And then we said in UX research, I just have 2 minutes to round up this thing so we can proceed. I hope I'm able to round up this in 2 minutes. Now, under UX research, we have 3 main types of research. We have foundational research, design research, and post-launch research. Okay, so when we are still coming up with the idea, you have to do foundational research. Foundational research, that's where you get to understand your user's pain point and things like that. Know exactly what problem you're trying to solve. Now, once you've known what problem you are trying to solve, you can now do design research to know how to go about designing that solution. Or when you are still doing that solution, you're testing that solution. So that is design research. After you've launched the product, there are going to be feedback from real users, right? So this one is called post-launch research. And remember, whatever thing you get from your post-launch research, you go back to start improving on it, right? So 3 types of research: foundational research, design research, and post-launch research. Then when you are conducting your research, whether it is foundational, design, or post-launch, it is categorized based on 2 things. It's categorized based on who conducted the research and also the type of data you collected during the research. Now, under who conducted the research, we have primary and secondary. If you are the one that conducted the research yourself, right, then that is primary research. If you are taking it from a source online, right, or somewhere else, basically you didn't do it, but you're picking it from a source, that is secondary research, right? Now, if you collected numerical data or trends, that is quantitative research. But if your research contained open-ended questions to help you understand the why, then that is qualitative research. So quantitative research will just give you the trend, right? When you now want to understand the trend, you have to conduct a qualitative research. Example of quantitative research will be yes or no question. Okay? Have you used this? Yes. Do you like this? Yes. All those yes and no question, although they are not the best, but yes and no question, how many this, how many that, those are type of what? Quantitative research, because they give you trends. Okay? So you can say, oh, from this research we've carried out, 20 people is this, 25 people is that, 30 people is this. So our decision is based on the fact that this number is high. That is quantitative research. But why is the number high? When you want to answer the question of why the number is high, then you have to go ahead and conduct qualitative research, because this is where you ask open-ended questions. Okay, like I gave you guys example. Let's assume you are conducting a test for 2 designs. Okay, you post 2 designs on Twitter and you ask people A or B. Now everybody comes A, some people come B, some people come A, some people come B. Then by the time maybe 100 people answer, you compare A or B, and then you find out that, oh, a lot of people, out of the 100, 80 chose B, 20 chose A. So great, I go with B because majority of people choose B. That is quantitative research, okay? But it doesn't give you the answer to why did people choose B, so that you can make better decisions next time. People just chose B. So in order to understand why people chose B, you have to conduct a qualitative research. You can now say, okay, why? You can now ask the question, why? And sometimes when conducting your research, you might use one research to get both qualitative and quantitative responses. For instance, if you frame the question as, please, which of these designs do you prefer, A or B? Tell me your reasons. That is, you want to collect two things, right? You want to collect both qualitative and quantitative data. So by the time you are done with that research, you find out that, okay, B, people chose B, and this is actually the reason why they chose B. Next time, you have better understanding of what actually went on, okay? So we talked about different research methods. Now, all this research method we just talked about, whether primary, secondary, or you are collecting quantitative or qualitative data, there are different ways you can do it, right? We talked about interview, survey, usability testing, heuristics evaluation, card sorting, focus group, customer journey mapping, survey with net promoter scores, and then you have the diary studies, okay? You see a lot of this on different apps, this survey with net promoter scores, where they will ask you things like, how likely are you to recommend our product to a friend, right? And you choose. So all these things, they use it to know, how likely you are their product is going to be used to, recommended to someone else. So they are very, very important, okay? So all these things, we wrote about them on the portal. So make sure you go and study them. Like I said, they are informational, okay? They are informational. That means you have to read it and just get the information. They are not technical, okay? Then we talked about AI enhanced user research, which obviously by next week we are going to be doing it. I hope all of us here, we've opened our ChatGPT account, because in one of the lessons, one of the tasks was for you to go and open a ChatGPT account if you already don't have one, because it's very important. We are living in 2023. If you are not integrating AI into whatever you are doing, I don't know what you are doing, okay? So we also talked about avoiding biases in user research, and then we explored some UX design case studies. It's important to go through these real-life case studies. Reason being that you are going to learn from those people's process. You are going to see how they were thinking while conducting those research. It's very, very, very important, okay? Now, user research methods. I don't know why this, I think it's not inside the frame. Let me go in and then try to put it inside the frame. Okay, it's not inside the frame, no wonder. Okay. Now, most of you ask questions like, sir, when do we use a particular user research method? So I decided to bring in this great image from NN Group, the Nelson Norman Group. Now, you notice that most of what we've been doing, we've been referencing this Nelson Norman, the NN Group. That website, right, will give you everything you need to know about UX design. Because the person that it was dedicated to is basically the lead designer at Apple. He was one of the people that, designed everything at Apple, even the first iPhone, right? He was a key designer at Apple. So he knows a lot about design. So most of the research, the early researches that were carried out, he actually did it. So how do you know, or when do you know which research method to use? There are basically two things: behavioral or attitudinal. Now, if you take a look at these things, it's telling you, okay, Mr. John, you're using Snapchat AI. Now, it's telling you that when you want to make a research with people using the product naturally, the natural use of the product, right? People using the product as it's supposed to work, right? When you want to do those type of research, that means people using the product, right? If it's, let's say it's a bleaching cream, Now I'm going to use this example. Now let's say it's a bleaching cream and you want to find out the effect of the bleaching cream. If you gather people that are using that bleaching cream for your effect, for your research, the kind of research you are likely going to be doing will be things like field study, contextual inquiry, eye tracking, A/B testing. Okay, so those are the kind of research you are going to be using. That if the people you want to conduct this research with are people that are rubbing the cream, okay, they are rubbing the cream, then you want to do things like field studies, you gather them, right? You want to do things like contextual inquiry, you want to do things like eye tracking. I'll drop this image in the group, okay? And you want to do things like clickstream analytics or A/B testing, right? Now, if it is scripted use of the product, what you probably want to use is, that means you have the people there and you are currently watching them and you are telling them how to use the product, when to use the product. Remember, under natural use of product, that means you can even have someone that can rub it 10 times a day or anyhow they want. Some people that rub it once in a week, right? But under scripted use of product, that means you are going to tell those people, okay, in the morning, rub 2 cups. They all rub 2 cups and they say, oh yeah, that's all for today. Today, the next day you come and say, today we are going to rub 3 cups. So if it is that type of research you want to do, that means you want to look at things like usability testing, remote moderated testing, usability benchmarking, and unmoderated testing, and also eye tracking. Okay, now if what you want to use is the contextualized method, right? That's people that are not likely to be using the product. Someone like Very Dark Man, he's not using the product, right? But you want to do a research on people like that. So you are likely going to use things like focus groups. You're also going to use interviews, and you are also going to use surveys. Okay? Now, if what you're trying to do is limited use of the product, not the whole product, but let's say just a feature of the product, not the entire product, but a feature of the product, then you can do something like participatory design, concept testing, card sorting, tree testing, desirability studies. Now, this is just English. I'll post this so that you can look at it, right? So these are the different types of research and when to use them. It can be behavioral or it can be attitudinal, right? So when you look at these labels, you can actually understand. So the question of which research method should I use have been answered using this image, okay? So UX design starts here. We now said, okay, after all this talk, how does this thing actually work in real life? We now said, okay, in real life, this is basically what you do, right? You follow this. If someone said they want to do design, they want to create a product or whatever, the first question, do you have something to show the users? Okay? Do you have a solution? Something at least. A solution or something that looks like a solution. Sorry? A solution or something that looks like. If your answer is yes, the next thing you need to answer is, this is your solution you want to show the users. Do you think you know what needs to be fixed? If your answer is yes, just go ahead and conduct A/B testing, and you can, launch it and conduct A/B testing. Okay? Now, if you're, I don't know what's going on in the network. I hope the network is not trying to, yes. Okay? Now, if your answer is yes, I know what I have a design to show the people. But then you said no, I don't really know what needs to be fixed. Then the next question is, do you have money? Do you have kudi? Right? That's the next question. So let me see. Guys, if you can still hear me, can you drop like an emoji? Let me be sure you can hear me, because I'm receiving like a network error thingy here. If you can hear me, drop that emoji. Let's see. Okay. If you can hear me, drop the heart emoji. Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back. Okay, great. Okay. So we said if you have money, then you can go for eye tracking, right? If you have money, you can go for eye tracking, and then maybe you move to usability studies. But if you don't have money, if you don't have money, and you just want to find out what's the issue, and then arrange it and move on, then you conduct heuristic audit. And this is why we decided to do heuristic audit first, because it is the easiest way to ship a product. Like I told you, I'm teaching you people real life how these things work, right? Real life how it works. I told you, you will meet someone on Twitter and the person will tell you, I've seen your design, I like it, I want you to design a website for me. I want it to look exactly like Glow website, right? These are the kind of customers you are likely going to meet. In fact, even if you are working in a SaaS company, most SaaS companies, they just straight ahead copy whatever other SaaS companies are doing, right? Or sometimes they want to know what is lacking in these companies so that we can introduce it in our own product. If it is in terms of usability, you conduct heuristic studies, heuristic audits. You carry out a heuristic audit of different types of product, and then you say, okay, these are things that are lacking in this product in terms of usability, so let's use it and solve our own. Okay, there's a question there by Geniusoft. I think I'm going to answer those questions from here, and then we move into heuristic study so that you guys can actually understand it, and I will show you guys a practical example of how to conduct a heuristic study. Okay, so that's basically it. But now, immediately we are done with these heuristic studies, okay, we are going to move over to this other part of the diagram, which says, do you have anything to show the user? And the answer is no. Do you have an idea of what to build? If you have an idea of what to build, you do what? Flow diagram. That means you don't have anything to show the users, but you have an idea of what could solve that problem. What do? You do flow diagram. And in one of the lessons, we talked about user flows and task flows. I hope you guys read it, although I'll answer some questions that are still confusing you guys. Okay? You draw the diagram. Once you have the diagram, you automatically have something to show the users. So what you are showing the users must not necessarily be a full Figma design. Like I told you guys, it could be an idea that you map out the flow and say, this solves this particular problem. Okay? Now, if you don't have an idea of what to build, the next question is, do you know the user's problem? If you say, yes, I know the user's problem, you can go ahead and conduct an interview. That interview will now give you an idea of what to build. Okay? It will now give you an idea of, what to build, because you know the user's problem. But if you don't know the user's problem, then you might need to conduct a diary studies. So this is where we talked about how to approach UX design in a more practical term. Then we went directly with the first one, which is, yes, we have something to show the user. This thing could be a competitor's website or a website, or competitor's website or app, or something that you have. Now, remember, as a UX designer, it's not just digital products you are designing. It could also be physical products. Let's assume you want to redesign the experience around fan, right? Now you have some other fans you have, you want to, do you have something to show the user? If you have other fans, you say, yes, I have something to show the user. And from this, I don't know what to fix. And I also don't have money. So what's next? Get those fans and conduct heuristic audit. From heuristic audit, you know that, this fan can make noise. That means if you can create a fan that when they make noise, or the noise is not much, you have solved one problem. Because in all these fans in the market, all of them are sounding back. If you can make one that can be, people might go for it. Okay? Then you look at the fan and be like, this fan can actually accumulate dust. Now how can we build a fan that cannot accumulate much dust? these are things you look at under heuristic what studies. But remember, under heuristic studies, you are not just doing things off heart. Instead, you are doing it based on some set principles. Okay, so let me go ahead and answer some questions, because from here on we are moving directly to heuristic study, and we are going to do some practical along the way. So if you have questions, please drop them now. From now till 8 o'clock, I'll be answering your questions, and after that, Thames baby, why are you using a phone? You're supposed to use your system. Make sure you rewatch this on your system, okay? But not to worry, the images will be shared in the Telegram group after this session, okay? So yeah, the images will be shared so that you can actually get a clearer idea, okay? So let's start with the question asked by Genius Soft. Sir, mine is not about heuristic but on UX. Please, what is the difference between task flow, user flow, and journey maps? I think I'll take this last. They are not the same thing. That's the answer you should know. They are not the same thing. I'll take it last. Okay, another question from Genius Soft. If you have your question, please paste it now. Another question from Genius Soft. Also, the article talked about using Miro to conduct task flow. Please, how do we go about this? Also, why did we not use Miro to conduct the task flow for our Spendy app? Your Spendy app, you didn't do any task flow. Okay, don't worry, the way the curriculum is structured, you understand why. Spendy app, we just told you what to do. It was do as I do. You were basically using it to learn Figma. Okay, Spendy app, you were not using it to learn UI design or UX design. You were using Spendy app to learn Figma. So at least by the time you completed Spendy app, all of us now know what a component is. We all know what is it called? Auto frame is. We now know how to create styles in Figma. We know how to add color. We know how to change fonts, right? That was the goal of Spendy app. But aside that, along the line, you also saw how to basically structure a project, right? Structuring them in different flows, right? That's in different feature. You saw the way we went to the next line, we did the login, we went to the next line, we did the home page, we went to the next line, we did the purchase airtime, next line, send money. Those are just some of the things that Spendy helped you to achieve. So we didn't do any task flow per se. We didn't do a task flow, right? So yeah, we'll still do task flows, right? And when we are doing task flow, we'll move to Miro, Whimsical, or we can just use the good old FigJam. So we'll definitely take a look at these two. Remember, there are some tools we said we are going to be learning, right? And Miro and Whimsical is one of them. Okay, so once we get to designing task flow, like I said, the better part of this bootcamp just started, right? Knowing how to use Figma is just one skill you need to add to your portfolio, right? But you don't want to be a Figma operator. Most companies don't put out jobs for Figma operators. Instead, they put out jobs for UI UX designers. Okay, so that's what you need to know. Okay, the third question is from Abimbola Omoni. I hope you're here. He said, in the material, you said a heuristic audit isn't user specific, but during the workshop, the speaker said users are involved in the heuristic audit. Please, can you throw more light on this? I really don't understand this question, but heuristic studies, right? Different people have how they do their heuristic studies. Just like the speaker said, he conducted some interviews to get some people's opinion, blah blah blah. That might be his own procedure, but the truth is, heuristic study, you can conduct it if you know the rules. You can conduct it without any user, and that is actually one of the flaws of heuristic audits, right? Because sometimes you can actually be biased, right? So, but the advantage is that it is fast, it is cheap, and it will keep you going until you have money to do proper ones, right? But just like you guys now, you might not have money to carry out a diary study. So what you can do to come up with solution is to do heuristic study. Yes, there might be a little bit of your own personal biases, but it will solve some problems for you, especially in terms of usability of a product. Okay. Let's take a look at the next question. I hope I was able to answer that. Vixen Design. Sir, what's the key difference between behavioral research and attitudinal research? I think I just answered that question right there. right? So we talked about behavioral and attitudinal research, right? Behavioral is basically, how should I put itself? Behavioral is all about what people say, right? So behavioral is all about what people do. I don't know how to put it for you. What people do with that product, okay? What people do with that product. While attitudinal is all about what people say, right? So that's the major difference. What people do and what people say. That's the major difference between the two, okay? And then we have this question from Shinayomi John. Sir, my question is, how do we list a user flow or task flow? If you read those lessons, you will know how to do these things. But probably I'll just take a look at them and explain better, okay? Okay, this question is from Mr. Kizito. Based on the assessment, we are asked on how to convince stakeholders. Can you give us a hint on how entry-level designers can go about convincing stakeholders in regards to fixing existing app? Well, two things. You convince them by showing them the most important one. Show them how the app will make them, how the solution will help them make more money. That's how you convince them, okay? You show them how the app is going to help them make more money. Now imagine, hypothetically, you are able to come up with a solution that allows people to print food. Now I'm being hypothetical now. It's not realistic. Now imagine you develop a solution that allows people to order food from their phone, and the food comes out from the phone. Trust me, you will not look for investors. Investors will pursue you because everybody will use that app, because people are tired now. Everybody will use that app. So if you convince them that they can make a lot of money, forget it, they will give you money, right? So every CEO is going around looking for investors. The only thing the CEO keeps telling investors is that yeah, in this first year we will make this, second year we will make this, third year we will make this. It's always making money, right? Nobody goes to investors and tell them, see, we are going to keep losing till Jesus comes. Then you will not get any investor. Nobody is interested. But remember, you are not just telling them these things with mouth. You have to back it up with data. You have to back it up with the data from your research. By the time you tell them over, this market that we are trying to break into is worth $2 trillion. And if we are able to capture about 2% of the market, we will be making so billion dollars. That is what they want to hear. And then you now tell them from your research that you've conducted, so people are actually interested. And if you can even capture 1% of those people, we will be making $100 billion. That's what they want to hear. They will give you money for you to build it, right? Okay, so I hope I'm able to answer that question on how you can convince your stakeholders. Stakeholders want profit. They don't want loss. So the more you tell them, the more profitable the idea is, the more they are willing to come on board, okay? Okay, I can see that question from Thames. I'll answer that question. Let me answer the next question. The next question is from Geniusoft. Okay, the next question is from Kizito again. He said, what if the site has an aesthetic issue? Not fine, but it's solving a problem. Yes, I think I've answered that question. Some people just use it as strategy, okay? But if you conduct a research and find out that, okay, this is useful, and you are making so amount of money, okay? You conducted a research and you find out that you are making so amount of money, but your site is ugly. Try find out, can you actually make more money if the site becomes better? Because Amazon made almost, is it 330 million extra by simply changing the button on their website from register to continue. Instead of telling people register, by telling them continue, a lot of people were able to complete the process, the onboarding process, and make purchases, right? So these are very important things you need to know. So it's not just saying it's functional but it's not beautiful, so let's leave it like that. Try find out, will you make more if it's actually more beautiful? And if it is, if it turns out that you are going to likely make more, right, there's nothing stopping you from doing it out. How can this be done? A website like Nairaland now, can go ahead and create a new version of Nairaland, then call some people to test it out and ask them how likely are they to use it compared to the old one, right? If people prefer, said, I like this new one, I like this new one, what do you know? The next thing, they will now revamp it. But if people say, let's just leave it the way it is, they stick to it, okay? Chances are sometimes they probably done this research. So the next question from Geniusoft. So does that mean each time we have a new product to design, we should go and find this map? We should go and find this map and use it. Geniusoft, I don't understand that question. Each time we have a new product, we should go and find this map. I don't understand that question. The next question from Shina Yomi John. Boss, during our workshop class, some websites were mentioned. Please, can you relist them and tell us their uses? Okay. I'll do that. I'll do that when I get there. Okay. The main one that was mentioned was basically for getting some statistics on some websites. Website. We'll take a look at that. And then this one from Thames, it said, I have a question. Okay, so if the customer said we should design a website exactly like Glow, are we to go ahead? Isn't that like plagiarism or something? Well, that is where heuristic audit comes in. So if a customer said they need something exactly like Glow, what you can now do is to just check out why the customer likes the Glow and things like that. Then you can just change something. Anywhere Glow said Papa, you change it to Pale. Anywhere they say Mama, you change it to Male. At the end of the day, he who how do they put it, the one who have the money is the one that determines the bit, right? So if the person have the money and say I need it exactly like Glow, right, you have to make it to look exactly like Glow. But here is what you shouldn't do as a professional. Someone should not meet you and say, I want you to design Glow website for me exactly with their details. Now that one is wrong, okay? Because once you are doing that and it's not for maybe educational purpose, you right now that is learning, you can decide to design Glow website for educational purpose. But once it is something you are going to build and launch, it's a no-no. Don't do that. What I mean by someone telling you they want their website to look exactly like Glow is basically they have their own content, right? They have their own content. It's another business name entirely. But then they like the structure. Maybe on Glow homepage, they have a slider, they have this image, and they have this big text. They like that structure, right? They will just tell you, we like this structure, and we want you to, create our own website using our information, but have this structure, okay? So in some clients, they are problematic. They want that structure and they want that structure, nothing else. You go ahead and do it, okay? But if you want, as a good UX designer, you should be able to, just add your own touch, your own feel, right? Something that is lacking in Glow's website, you can add it to it, and then the customer will even be more happy. Next time they will do business with you again, okay? Geniusoft said, the map, do you have something to show users? Okay, you mean that map? We should, let me read it again. Okay, so each time we have a new product to design, we should go and find this map and use it. I don't know, I'm not sure you want to find this map and use it. This map is just a contest. It's just giving you context of what to do. Anytime you have a new product, do you have something to show the people about the product? If yes, go ahead and, ask yourself, do you know what needs to be fixed? If no, do heuristic audit. If yes, launch it and do A/B testing, okay? If you don't, if it's a new product and you don't have anything to show, the next question is, do you know what wants to be, the problem that needs to be solved and how you want to solve it? If yes, you do the flow. You map out the flow, okay? If no, then you go ahead and conduct the research. That's if you don't even know what the users want. Okay, I think we've taken the questions, and if you have any other questions apart from this, you can just drop them. Okay, I think let's talk about this flow a little bit so you can understand it. Let me just drop it here. Okay, let me just drop it here. Okay. So a flow. So let's take a look at this user flow. I'm just going to run through it. I'm not really going to take it because this is something you are supposed to already read. Okay. So a user flow is a visual representation of the steps a user takes to achieve a specific goal within a product or service. Take note. Steps. A lot of you, like the question I posted last time, a lot of you were explaining it. No, in a user flow, you keep your explanation, you abstract your explanation into practical applicable steps. You abstract it. Okay? And I gave you people something very important that can actually help you understand it well. That is where I'm going to first. Let me bring it in. I gave you guys popular task flows. Now go and study these task flows, please. It's important. It will help shape your own mind to know how to do this. Okay? I gave you guys popular task flows. Popular user flows to take a look at. For instance, on e-commerce platform, what is the user flow for browsing and searching products? Now, a normal person, exactly, he who plays the piper dictates the tune. Yes, Mr. Justice Obunna. Now, when you ask someone now how to browse, how do you think users are going to browse and search products? They might say, okay, users will have to log into the app, then they will sign in. When they now sign in, they will see one box. That box will now say, oh yeah, search for your product. Then when they click inside, they will type in what they want, and then they will click on search, and then the system will now load and then give them the search of what they are looking for. Now that is explanation. You don't do that for user flow. User flow, you are giving out the screens. Yes, definitely I'll show you an example of task flow. Okay, now in user flow, you are mapping out the screens at a top level. You are abstracting all the explanation and giving us the user flow at a top level. Now the difference between user flow and task flow: user flow looks at the task or whatever the user is trying to achieve at the top level. Meanwhile, task flow goes in depth. Task flow goes in depth. Okay, so user flow is looking at just the top level. User flow is not concerned about, most of the time, decision making. So I'll give you people the good example here. Now, for instance, browse search. Browse and enter product. What is the user flow? Enter the website or app. Browse product categories or use the search bar. Click on a product for more details. That is it. This one, don't change it. Don't go and change it. In case you are building a product, you are building an e-commerce app, and you are looking for the flow for products on browse search, this flow is standard. Use it. Okay? You have to create a screen. That's the website. The next screen where the products and categories are. The next screen, the search screen. And then the next screen where they open up the product details. Example of product details is like the one we designed, right? Where we have the product's name, the product price, the description, and then the add to cart. Now, another user flow is user flow for adding cart to add to cart and checkout. Basically, you add the item to cart. You can see under here you are already inside the app, so there's no need to come and say log inside the app. No, it's telling you add cart to checkout. It's standard. Add item to cart. View and edit cart, proceed to checkout, enter shipping and payment information, confirm order. Now, someone asked, what is the difference between user flow and task flow? So, Sakina, I still don't know how to pronounce this your name. Send me a voice note on Telegram. I don't know whether it's Sakina or Shekina or Sakina. I don't just know. Now, if this was to be a task flow, it's going to have decisions. Right? Because when you add your item to cart, you click on view cart. Okay? Now, you see this proceed to checkout is going to have decisions. When you come to proceed to checkout, you are going to have the diamond shape here, which we now say if user clicks on proceed to checkout, then it will take them to enter shipping information. If not, it should take them back to view and edit cart. So it gives task flow more of give you the full screen. It's actually from task flow you will know exactly how many screens to design. But from your user flow, you are basically, it's on the top level. Basically, most of the time you just use it to have an overview of the what's it called, an overview of the site map. Okay, with a user flow you can use it to have like an overview of some kind of top level overview of how the thing works. But then with task flow, you are going to identify every screen the person is going to land on. Okay, great, that's awesome. So you are on task flow, you are going to identify every screen the person is going to land on. Now what I want you people to understand, this is not explain to me how it works. It is not that. Explain to me how it works, you explain it, then you abstract it to actionable steps. Okay, explain to me how it works, that is fine. All those ones under explain to me how it works, you can even use things like storyboarding. We might talk about storyboarding, right? But it's not really necessary. Nobody does that anymore. We're in 2023. Except you just like talking. I know someone that would like storyboarding. There's one of the students that is very good with stories. I like the way he puts his stories. He might be interested in storyboarding. He can learn it later. But it is not storyboarding. It is not explanation. Instead, explain it to yourself. But now, we want to see the actionable steps, the overview of how the person jumps from 1, 2, 3. Okay? Exactly. Now, that is user flow. Task flow now, we now examine all the screens and the person's decision. For instance, a user flow to make payments, right? A user flow, for instance, a user flow for spending on buying airtime. A user flow for spending on buying airtime is click on buy airtime, enter details, right? Enter phone details, make payments. That is it. That is user flow for buying airtime on Spendy. What did I say again? User flow for buying airtime on Spendy is basically click on buy airtime, enter phone number, payment, and that is it. But then the task flow, we start checking the steps one after the other. The task flow, we now say click on buy airtime, enter phone number, enter payment details. If payment details is correct, that's if detail is correct, that's if the person choose MTN and chose phone number. If phone number is correct and network is valid, right? If user enter the phone number and select network, it should now move. Next, you have payment. If user does not enter the correct details, it stays on that screen. From payment, if payment is correct, move to the next screen, which is confirmation. If payment is not completed, go back to the other screen. So that is task flow. Okay, task flow examines all the steps. User flow is an overview. So I just told you guys using a perfect example of the Spendy app. Okay, so most of the time where you know the number of screens you are going to need for a design is based on the task flow. The user flow will tell people how it's going to work. So it's very important. Please, if you read all these things and you still don't understand, please come here and study popular ones. Now these popular ones, they are here so that you don't mistake things. So anytime you want, if you are to design a social media app, this is how the login work. Content consumption, this is how it works. You scroll through feed, like, comment or share post, view and respond to notification. That is it. That is it. Profile interaction. Now if it is a banking and finance app you are working, basically this is how funds transfer work. initiate a fund transfer, enter recipient detail, confirm and authorize transfer, shikina, right? But if it is a task flow now, we'll start looking at things like initiate a fund transfer. If details is correct, move to enter recipient details. If recipient details is correct, move to confirm. If confirm, move to the next one. If it's not confirmed, which screen should appear? Okay, so please go through this. It's very important you go through this. So key elements, we say we have entry point, the steps, decision point, outcome or goal, right? Then we talked about task flow, the actions, conditions. You can see what I'm saying. Conditions, very important. The conditions, the decisions, loops and iterations, because step may repeat based on user input. Okay, then the end state. So please take note of all these things. They are very easy to understand. Then we talked about this diagram. This diagram is important for you to understand, so you don't go and use any shape you think you want. So you don't just use any shape for task flows, right? So your start is always the oval. So when you are doing, your start should always be the oval. These arrows are used for the direction. Now this rounded rectangle with border with corner radius, small corner radius, so if you increase the corner radius it turns to oval. So small corner radius is the process or the action. Okay, the process or the action. Now decision is denoted with the diamond. So any place the person is going to make decision, maybe if it is like a sign up form now, sign up form at the end of the form, or maybe it's a login form. For a login form you are going to see a decision, right? Decision that will say, okay, let me do this quickly. By the way, you can always search this thing on you can say login task flow. Now this is a login task flow, so it's important. You can always go and study some of these things. They are highly important. Okay, now take a look at this login task flow. Let me open it, copy image address. Let me come in here and paste it. Okay, now let's take a look at this login task flow. Okay, it says, now you can see some form of loop here. Okay, so email, it goes to validation. Password goes to what? Validation. Okay, now this is a decision. Authenticated, so you can see it's a question, it's a decision. Authenticated, yes. If it is yes, logged in. If it is not authenticated, it should go back to the login screen. This is a task flow. Okay, user flow, we just say email, password, login. That's the flow of how to log in. The flow of how to log in is type in your email, type in your password, you log in. But then how do you actually now log in? This nitty-gritty process is now done using a task flow. And on task flow, you can see after you input the email, it validates. You input the password, it validates. If authenticated, that is, if it's authenticate, if it is correct, then you move to login. But if it is not correct, you come back to the login screen again. Okay, that means you don't move forward. So basically, these are things you should know. Now, Google is your best help. If you don't know how a task flow is going to be, especially when you are designing popular apps like e-commerce app, banking app, don't go and start stressing yourself. Okay, but it's only when you are designing a new, designing a solution, a custom solution, right? That is when you begin to create your own map. Okay, maybe if it's a feature, you can create your own map. But the best way to become good and to understand this map, how you can do all these flows, is by studying existing flows, right? Sometimes they call this thing pseudocode. Okay, they call it pseudocode. For those in programming, they understand this as pseudocode. So this is basically where you are coding without code. You explain just to know how things will, jump around. Okay, so please let's go and study this. So I'm just going to close this and close it. Let me just, okay, heuristic audit. So let's come back to heuristic audit. So you were asked to download a document. Okay, you're asked to download some workbook from that lesson. So it's important you download those workbooks. Okay, it's very, very important you download those workbooks. But before I continue, do you have any question? Any question before I continue? What about journey maps? Leave journey map so that journey map can leave you. We will talk about journey map later. Journey map is all about experience, right? It's all about the experience. So the difference between journey map and task flows. Don't always mix them. If you are mixing them, that's when you get it confused. For now, just take note of user flow and task flow. Don't bring journey maps inside user flow and task flow. Okay, journey maps deal more with the process and the feeling, right? The process, the feeling, and the reaction. So don't mix them. Don't ask for the difference between them so you don't confuse yourself. Okay, so Abimbola Omoni, which question? Okay, sir, your user flow has decision as one of their key elements. Do we make decisions in user flow? Some user flow make decisions, but you rarely do that. You rarely do that. Where you usually see decisions are in task flows. Okay. Now, if you are making decision in a user flow, it should be like the top. It should be at the top level. It should be like a top level decision, but not showing all the options available at that point. Okay, it's like a top level decision. Someone said, Chiebuka, the workbook, you mean the Blinkist app? No, not that. A workbook was shared, a workbook for heuristic audit. A workbook you can use to carry out heuristic audit was shared. So it's important you actually download it so you can use it to be conducting your heuristic studies. Okay. 2 more minutes, 1 more minute. If there are no questions, I'll go straight to heuristic studies, audit. So you get to understand it better. Okay. Yes, the evaluation workbook. Yes, I'm sure you guys downloaded it because you were actually told to download it. Please download and study. That was why you were given 2 days for that material. But remember, just because you studied it now does not mean that's the end. You always reference them. Okay, you always reference them. Like I told you guys, these things are informational. The fact that we are talking about this thing does not mean it must stick inside your brain today. Instead, you've had this. For instance, now that I went to Google and I typed in login task flow, it has entered your brain. So anytime you are designing something, let's assume you are trying to get e-commerce checkout task flow, you just remember, I could actually go to Google and type it, and you see some things. Okay, so they are all informational. So you get the information, you know it. As time goes on, anytime you encounter such problem, you refer back to them. So it's not like after today you leave them. No, you even 10 years after design, you'll be referring back to them. Okay, so let's go ahead. Heuristic audit. Heuristic audit. Okay, so what exactly is a heuristic audit? Kizito, I will tell my colleague. Okay, I'll tell my colleague to try and be posting the updates on WhatsApp. The issue we had with WhatsApp is that it didn't have some of the features that allow us to organize the group. Okay, but we can be throwing in some information there now and then. Okay, are we together? Any other question? Okay. So what exactly is heuristic studies? So once you talk about heuristic, we are trying to solve a usability problem, okay? It's used to solve, it's used to detect usability issues, okay, that may occur when users interact with a product. Sometimes you build products, the way products are built and shipped fast, sometimes they ship it and some things that users are supposed to interact with won't be working as it's intended to. So to be able to know some of those things that are not working, or how to improve some of those things that are not working, that is the essence of heuristic study. I gave you guys an example. Maybe you are running a promo and then you launch your promo, you launch your ad, and then you keep noticing that people are coming to the website but they are not buying. The solution is what? Heuristic audit. You carry out a heuristic audit to know what exactly is going on. You might now discover that, oh, actually when they click on the buy now button, it doesn't load. Okay, it doesn't load. That becomes a usability issue. So on your heuristic studies, you note this down, that the buy now button is not loading. Or maybe during the design, they added animation to the buy now button. Okay, during the design, they added an animation to the buy now button. And maybe the people that are visiting, the target audience, are people that stays in area where there is slow network connection. And then when those people visit, because they have slow network, button does not load. When you now carry out the studies, you find out that, oh, this button actually doesn't load well. So what you can now recommend is, oh yeah, let's turn off the animation on the button. Okay, now it is basically careful observation. That is the truth. If you are not observant, you might actually miss out on some things when it comes to heuristic study. There is not science. There is no science around it. The only science around it is that you work based on some set out rules. Okay? Some set out evaluation rules. You must have what you are evaluating against. You can decide, okay, this heuristic audit we are trying to carry out is to check for accessibility. So you are checking for things like colors and things like that, right? So you begin to go through page by page, checking for those colors that are not in conformity with the accessibility standards. And we already gave you tools that you use to confirm the accessibility standards. Okay? So you begin to use those tools, you begin to check, then you say, oh, on this page, this particular color did not contrast well with the one on the background, which will lead to accessibility issues. Recommendations. This. Now, at the end of the day, you analyze all your reports and start prioritizing them, which one should go first and which one should be done next. Okay? You go to a page, you prioritize, you score it. So that is basically how it's done. It's very practical. It's a practical thing, okay? Now, there are different standards. There are a lot of standards we mentioned that you can use to carry out a heuristic study. Okay, good. This is a great question from David Joel. Is heuristic study same as competitive audit? No. Heuristic study will help you identify usability issues. Competitive audit, on the other hand, will help you identify features that you can make better. Okay, when you are carrying out a competitive audit, what you are looking at most time is what is working, what is not working, and what can be done better. Okay, that's what you mostly use competitive audits for. They are almost the same, but one is based on usability. Okay, so heuristic is mostly based on usability, okay, against some certain standards. For instance, if you are doing usability study, you might not be looking at the traffic, the target audience. You might not be looking at things like that under your competitive audit. Sorry, under heuristic study or audit. But under competitive study, you might be looking at what time do these people open? What number of services do they offer? what is their most selling product. These are things you look at competitive audit. David Joel, I don't know if you are following me. Okay, under competitive audit, you are looking at what product or services are these people offering, what time did they open. So by the time you are looking at those things, you start answering questions like, okay, if this is the product they are selling and it's making wave, can we implement it also in our own, right? So that's what you do under competitive audit. Meanwhile, on heuristic audit, you are looking at usability issues. Example, this button, is it working as it is intended? This color, is it does it pass the accessibility check? Okay, so there are set down rules for heuristic audit, benchmarks that you will use for evaluation, and we have a lot of them, but the most popular one is still from the same man that worked at Apple, one of the biggest designers at Apple. Okay, he still came up with this one called the Nelson Norman 10 usability heuristic evaluation, right? And I'm just going to do summary of all of them. So let's take a look at heuristic summary. Okay, the Jacobs 10 usability heuristics. This document should be with you. You should have this document. Okay, you should have this document. You were asked to download this document, okay, from the website, so you should have it. This is a bird eye view of what I'm going to do, because I'm just going to explain and I'll quickly run one for us to see how it actually works. Okay, I'll quickly run one, and then so by the time we are done with this class, please, before you send in your work subsequently, use your eye. Mr. Kizito, hope you are here. Use your eye, check your design, assess it based on some of these certain principles before you send it in, because from next week you might not be getting feedback as you are getting, because we want to train you to be able to criticize your own work, find out the issue, and then that is why for the first 2 weeks we have been helping you, tell you, okay, this is the issue, okay, that is the issue, okay, this is the issue. So you begin to know, oh, so this spacing is not supposed to be like this. You begin to know those things. So as time goes on your own, you are supposed to be able to say, okay, oh, this spacing, I remember, is too much. When you see a spacing that is too much, you should now be able to know. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. Under the first one, we said visibility of system status. Visibility of system status. Always keep the user in the know of what is going on in a website. Always. Okay, now let me go to a website. Let's type in PNG wings. I think it's .com. Now let's see what happens on PNG wings. It has loaded. Let's go in and also check, let's say freepick.com. Now this is also a lesson for you. Let's go ahead there. Okay, now this is also a lesson you should take note of right away. Whenever you are designing and you need PNGs for your design, okay, you can quickly come to this website, PNG Wings, okay, and you can search for PNGs and get PNGs, okay. PNGs are basically images without backgrounds, okay, images that their background have been removed, so you can easily use it. Meanwhile, this is another website you are going to use a lot, because some of you might not be a 3D designer, but maybe in your design you are looking for 3D assets. Freepick.com is one of the most popular ones and cheap ones you can use. Okay, they are very affordable, but for now you can make use of the free resources. Okay, but later we'll take a look at how to use all these things. Okay, let's come back here. Now, what do they mean by visibility of system status? You as the designer, you should now know that you should always keep the user informed about what is going on in the system, right? Imagine you build a website and then you know the website is heavy. Once you know the website is heavy, right, what you can actually do, if it is not something that can be solved technically, right, if it is not like a website that can be made to be faster, now what you can do is to now put a loading feature. That means when the person visits the website, the thing start loading, right? They can see 20%, 30%, 160%, you know. That alone will tell the person, oh, this website is loading. But imagine the person just comes and the thing is loading, just white page showing. They might just think that the website is broken and they leave. So if you are to conduct a heuristic audit on a website and then you come to the website, you said, okay, oh, you want to check, you decide that the first thing I want to check, the first benchmark I want to use is what? Visibility of system status. You begin to go through page to page, you load them, you begin to check if the system is actually giving the user feedback on what is going on. Okay, now it's not like everything you do you now give feedback. Don't go and do things like, we are now sending your request to the server, please hold on. No, don't do that. Okay, we'll get to the information, another part that will tell you not to do that. You only give relevant information. Okay, not when the person said add to cart, you now be like, hello, we are now adding your item to cart, but in the meantime you can dance because your money is about to work. No, don't do that. Instead, what you do is, immediately the person does like add to cart, maybe a little animation just happens. Okay, have you noticed that when you go to different websites and then maybe you hover, you can see the way I hover on this, you can see the little feedback it's giving me. The pictures inside, they are giving me a little feedback. That is to tell me that, oh, I'm actually here. So this is example of visibility of system status. Okay, things like hover, when you go to discount, once I go to discount and I hover on discount, you can see that little change in color. So it could be little changes in color, it could be text feedbacks, it could be, now there are some websites you go to, they have images before the load. Okay, before the load you see like a skeletal structure of those images. That is basically the visibility of system status. That thing alone will make the user know that, oh, something is actually going on here. So as a UX audit, when you now go to a website to carry out a heuristic audit and you find some pages that don't have this feedback, you note them down so that in your next design or the next iteration of the design, these things can be fixed. That is what we are talking of heuristic audit. You need to know this as a UX designer. Okay, you go through pages, and remember, this is also a form of research. Heuristic audit is also a form of what? Research. Are we together? So you begin to get all this information, right? So visibility of system status is number one. I really want you guys to understand this. You must use these benchmarks when carrying out your heuristic audits. You must not use all 10 of them. Terms, this was shared on the platform. Log into your platform and you get it. Now, you must not use all 10 of them all the time when you are performing heuristic audit. You might use 5, you might use 6. If you want, you can use all 10 of them. But what you need at that point, you want results. Okay? Good. And most of the time, when developing new app, if you want to discover existing usability issues with already existing products, you conduct heuristic studies across those products, right? Once you conduct usability studies across those products, you can actually be able to pinpoint where they're having issues and then use those issues they're having to fix your own, right? Number 2, match between the real world. Very, 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 very important. The design should speak the user's language, right? The design should speak the user's language. Use phrases and concepts familiar to the user. Don't use jargon. Okay? Don't use jargon. Use phrases familiar to the users. Okay, don't, let's say you are a very technical person, or you are working in I don't know, just use words that are similar to what the people already know, right? Okay, great. So use words that are similar. Remember, this is in terms of things like UX writing, right? UX writing, and also icons. When you see the add to cart icon, it looks like a basket. Reason being that when you go to the supermarket to buy something, they give you a basket. Don't come and say, you want to do add to cart icon and you want to be very innovative. So you want to, instead of the basket, you want to use nylon. You want to draw a nylon icon. Not everybody they use nylon go market. People use bag or basket. So that is what you should use. Use bag or basket. Don't go and use nylon. Or imagine an add to cart button that is having a first aid icon on it. So when you are creating your icons, when you are writing your copy, it should match real world. Okay? It should match the real world. Are we together? It should match the real world. So understand this thing. Now, as a heuristic auditor, when you are also going through a website, for instance, let's take a look at this website. Nothing much here. We have search PNG, and you can see this search icon is always this binocular icon, right? So just because they say search icon, please don't go and now put this what is the color? I forgot what they call it. This thing with two eye that people you can use to see far. Binoculars. Don't go and use those two eye binoculars to put on your search button because you want to be creative. No. Now, as you are carrying out a heuristic study, when you see icons that don't really communicate directly, you begin to take note of all these things and say, on this page, based on the evaluation of matching between system and real world, the icon used on this page does not match the real world and hence might be confusing users. Recommendation: change the icon to something better. Okay, so you go through website, you begin to see some of these things. So that's why you see a lot of people, you have all this because this is very useful when you start creating like new icons for a project or your text icon. Okay, now here you can see the text says search image, and you can see the image, the icon is also just like those icons that are used to represent pictures. Okay, I hope on this website they don't come and sue me. So this is basically for educational purpose. Okay, number 3. Now remember, if you don't understand any of this, please drop question. The essence of this class is for you to actually understand it in a layman's language. We are not speaking big English today. Okay, we are breaking everything down and how you should also approach it. So remember, you are called in to audit, to conduct a heuristic audit. You have 10. You can decide to say, okay, I'm going with Jacob's 10 heuristic usability heuristics. Number 1, visibility of system status. You begin to go through from page to page to check if there is any page whereby you clicked something and then you didn't get a feedback. Now imagine you submitted a form while carrying out the heuristic audit. You submitted a form and then nothing came back to say the form have been submitted. Yes, Chebuka said, I have really visited a website that confuses me. Waiting. Are we together? Now imagine you submitted a form while conducting your heuristic audit and then nothing came back to say your form have been successfully submitted. What will you do? Sharp, you note it down. Now, like I told you guys, this Designgate, this is just our MVP. If you check the user experience on Designgate, there are a lot of usability issues because we are just starting and we've been taking notes of all these things. remember some time when people were registering, there were people that registered, and after registering on the platform, the thing was just there, and they were like, have I registered? They now came to DM, have we registered? I don't know. Now we have to now fix that, so that when you now register, it will tell you your registration have been confirmed. Okay, so when you don't give back that status, people are left confused. They don't know what's going on. You add an item to cart, it does not do anything. You didn't see like one up on the cart, or it didn't just do anything. You be like, it don't add. Then you click it again, click it. By the time you're not going to say you don't add 100 items to your cart, because you were clicking and there was no feedback. So when you note pages that have this issue, you note them down. Then you come to match between real world and system, you note them down. Remember, this thing is observation based on these criteria. You are observing based on these criteria. It is not magic, it is not rocket science. If you fail to notice it, then that one you failed it too. Like some of you, I'll be telling you the spacing between this and this. Okay, not even that. Some of you will draw a button inside the search box, and you see that button is shifting away from your entire container for search box, and you will happily send it in for me to give you thumbs up. Why will I give you thumbs up? Why will I give you thumbs up? Look well. So from today, please look at your design well before you send it in. Look well. Those of you that will carry black color, and then those of you that will do things like this, you are designing, baddest designer. You are designing, then you have like blue like this. Let's say blue like this, or let's say black like this. Then you come and type something. Maybe you type hello. Okay, I'm just giving you people this thing as example, because I've seen a lot of you doing it. People want to send instructor to grave with your. Now you put this here, and you come in here and put this kind of color. Now you are seeing clearly that this blue is not showing well on the black, and you will happily send it in and say Designgate review. Okay, someone said, sir, based on these heuristic principles studies, how can we really be innovative to an extent knowing that it seems everything is already laid down to follow? I really don't get it. But like I said, it is observation. Now, some of you, like I said, you will design this. You put hello, you put it inside this black background as your button. You are seeing it, oh. You are seeing it that is not very clear. But because of your bias, now you designer, you'll be telling me, it's very clear. Now hello dey there. Now hello dey here, ba. Meanwhile, what you can just do is to just select this hello, change the color, maybe white. Now this thing is as clear as possible to everybody. Okay, so that question concerning innovation, don't worry, you don't need innovation yet. Just understand these things, okay, so that as you are checking against them. So it's not like you go to a website and you start checking and you say, oh, this one falls into this. No, you have to start with one. Maybe if you want to check with 5 of them, you choose the 5 of them first. You choose the 5 of them based on your goal. Then you start with the first one. You start going from page to page, checking for which one breaks the law or which one was properly done. Now, if they were properly done, also make sure to indicate that it was properly done. Then you score it. Okay? We'll take a look at the map. Okay? We'll take a look at the notes. Number 4, consistency and standard. Users should not have to wonder whether different words means different things. Okay? For instance, you are building an app. You have create account. then somewhere you have sign up, somewhere you have sign in, somewhere you have register now. What are you doing? Consistency and standard. If you have a plus icon that is used for new emails, don't go and put it somewhere for new task without telling the user that this one now is for new task. Okay, you have to be able to tell the person this one now, maybe instead of that plus alone, you can now add new task, or in fact remove the plus and put a button that says create new task, because they've already know that this plus is always used to create new email. So maintain consistency and standard. So as you are carrying out your heuristic audit, you want to start checking, is there any icon or any text that is the same but doing different things? You note it down, and then during your presentation you'll be like, see, I discovered that these two buttons are doing the same thing. Now you'll be asking, how will I know? Like I said, it's observation. You come to this search, you come to this site, you start using all the functionalities. For instance, you see this search now. Let me tell you one of the usability issues on this particular website that I noticed. I use it a lot, but I noticed this issue. And if I'm to conduct a heuristic audit on this now, I will mention this issue. Okay, but okay, let me come back, let me get to that point, then I'll come back to this website and show you something. So next one is error prevention. Good error messages are important. It's always good to tell someone, give someone that this thing is error, correct yourself. Good error messages are important, but the best designs carefully prevent problems from occurring in the first place. Exactly, Chebuka. It is a common sense guide to evaluating a product, but now based on these principles. Remember, you can actually set up your own principle as well. You can set up your principle you want to use to evaluate it. I like what Chebuka just said. Okay? I like what Chebuka just said, because sometimes this big English used to confuse us. Like I told you guys that day, when you hear heuristic, it is not, it's give or take. Just like Chebuka said, common sense. It's a give or take process. You look at things, and based on what you've already mapped out. For instance, if you decide that as I'm going through this website, I want every line should have red underline, then you now went to the website and they are not having red underline, you start ticking, you don't get underline, you don't get red underline. That is basically what you are doing. But the reason why we are looking at this one closely like this is because most people, this standard set up by Nelson, right, the Jacobs 10 usability principle, this standard is widely used. It has been tested and proven for a while now, so people just use it when they want to conduct heuristic audit. They use it. So what I'm doing now is to make you understand it. Okay, error prevention. It's always good to add error prevention. Now, for instance, you are trying to set up a campaign. They ask you to set up a marketing campaign, right? And that marketing campaign, you know that what you are trying to get is for people to enter their email, and then you can send them offers. Example of error prevention now is, some people can just build a landing page, and then by the time you build the landing page, you will see some wicked people or even some bots coming to your website formulating emails wey no exist. They can just formulate, I just want to download this ebook at gmail.com, send, and then you say, good, send to your email. You dey craze at gmail.com, good, send to your email. Someone will just come and say, me, I'm just passing by at gmail.com, good, send to your email. You find out that at the end of the day, you end up having a list of bad emails. Instead, what a good form should do is immediately you type in so email at gmail.com, you should find a way to check, is this email valid? Okay, or maybe at the point of putting it inside your email list, you can now check, is this email valid? If the email is valid, you can continue. If the email, you can see that you help prevent error not just on the user side but also on your own end. Another example of all these preventing error messages, preventing error, is by asking people to enter their password twice, maybe when they are creating an account or when they are trying to reset their account. So you can now see that the convention of asking you to enter your password twice is not because people are lazy or people don't know what to do. It was because of this principle, this evaluation metric, which says error prevention. And that is why someone said, how can I prevent the error of people imputing wrong password? Because it happens sometimes. Maybe you forgot that your keyboard layout have changed to UK and you thought it was in US, and then you want to start your password with @ you now do @ and then background, you don't know that is apostrophe that you've typed. The next time you come back, your system don't change to US, you go do @ that I no go work, you go say, but I am very sure it was @. So that is why you have to put some methods to prevent all these errors. Another example of error prevention is adding that eye icon close to when you are imputing your password, so you can see, in order to prevent what? Error. So this thing you should know. So when you are designing your own app right now and you are trying to do a password field, know the reason behind why you are adding eye icon. You are not adding it because they pay you or because you are the eye of the world. You are adding it to prevent user errors. Okay, so you can see we are beginning to answer the why of some of the decisions we take when designing. Okay, so someone said, example, or confirmation carrying out a task like sending money. Exactly. So if you are designing a fintech app, please don't jump that step where you ask the person to confirm. If you jump it, that means your design is bad. Okay, this is what UX design is all about. If you skip that step, that means your design is bad. Okay, so someone said, Chebuka said, sir, most of these principles also conform with the principles of design and laws of design. I'm beginning to understand better now. Thank you. So I am a prophet, as a prophet, I prophesy, you begin to understand better. Is that not a miracle? Okay, that's a joke, by the way. Yes, they all relate to each other. Okay, so that is when you begin to understand this thing, you find out that it's not difficult. That's why I told you we're going to learn this thing the way it works, like in the real world. Now, if we had started with let's do interview, let's do this and let's do this and start empathizing all this, no. In fact, this also, carrying out a heuristic study, is a form of empathizing with the user. Okay, it's a form of empathizing with the user. So you should know all these things. Now, recognition rather than recall. Minimize the user's memory load by making elements, action, and options visible. Avoid making users remember information. Very, 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 very important. Okay, very, very, very important. You don't want to make users to start remembering things. Instead, if you are introducing a new icon, introduce it small. Don't just launch a new app and everywhere is new icon that users don't know. Remember, match your design with real world. Users want to be able to see things and recognize them, not trying to recall them, because it takes more processing power to recall things, right? Like this thing that they asked here. Okay, this was a question. I think it's a quiz that they asked, like when you want to ask people, like if you ask someone, what is the capital of Lisbon? What is the capital of Portugal? And you ask the same person, is Lisbon the capital of Portugal? They are more likely to, remember that yes, Lisbon is the capital of Portugal, than when you ask them what is the capital of Portugal, because they will have to start recalling in order to know the capital of what? Portugal. But when you give them those options, they are able to what? Recall. So you now go through those applications, you begin to find things that are not easily recognizable, and you begin to note them down, that this is not easily recognizable. Or you can say, well, under recognition and recall, yes, this app was designed with things that made it easy for the user to recognize what function that is. Okay. We have flexibility and efficiency of use. Shortcuts hidden from novice may speed up interaction for the expert user. Exactly. Now there are some apps you'll be using. If you notice throughout this course, I have not introduced you guys to any Figma shortcuts. It's intentional because I want you guys to know exactly where these things are, because recognition is better than recall. That's why. Now if I had told you guys to use Ctrl K for components, that's to create a component, you do Ctrl K on the first day. The next day, if you cannot recall Ctrl K, wahala don dey, right? But I was able to show you guys the icon. That icon, all of you have been going to click it because it's easy and better. It's easier to recognize that icon and say, oh, now this icon create a component though. It's easier. But as time goes on, you begin to know some shortcuts. You know, oh, Ctrl K, oh, Ctrl K. So the first 3 days, when your brain formats and you don't remember Ctrl K, you can recognize that icon and click on it. Then later on, you will now become Baba. Okay, so that's how it works. Yeah, notice the onboarding page has changed today too. Yeah, okay, so that's what you need to start, noticing. So flexibility and efficiency of use, it's very, very important. Now you go through your document, you start finding things that are either flexible or efficient to use. If they are not there, you note them out. Okay, now I'm just going to rush through these 10. Aesthetic and minimalist design. Okay, so let's take a look at this recognition other than recall, and also making things easier. Now I told you I saw one issue with this website. Now you see this website. Now if I come here and I type maybe gift boxes, what happens? I want you to take note of what happens immediately I hit enter after typing gift boxes. Let me hit enter. Watch the search bar. Enter. What happens is that it searches and then brings out these images. But take a look at my search bar. I can't even remember what I typed because it has deleted it from the search bar. Now this is a problem because let's assume I'm trying to remember what I typed to get this result. I can't. But look at how this website FreePick solved it. Let me come to FreePick again and let me type gift boxes. Enter. Now immediately I click enter, FreePick is going to run through and bring out results. And if I look inside my search bar, I can still see gift box. This is an improved user experience for me. Are we together? And now see what FreePicks have also done for me. Okay, under here they've now added things like similar things. Christmas gift boxes, Christmas open gift boxes. I can easily search related items. Unlike these guys, they don't care. They have given me my gift boxes. They are not trying to help me to even explore. They don't care. Now these are, if you now want to read it, let's assume they call you now to come and perform a heuristic audit on this website. You come in here, you take note of this. You go to FreePick, you take note of FreePick. Let's take a look at Shutterstock. Now let's go to Shutterstock, for instance. This is Shutterstock. Let's see how Shutterstock also works. Okay, let's search for gift boxes. Let's search for gift boxes as well. Enter. And let's see what happens on the search bar after it's finished searching. Okay, so Shutterstock, you can see exactly. Shutterstock, you can see websites that are well thought out and designed. They always put the user in mind. You can see under here we have the gift boxes and we still have related searches. This is to just help the user. Okay, now recognize, diagnose, and then once you should be able to, okay, aesthetic and minimalistic design. Don't put information that are not needed. Like I told you, just because we said you should be adding giving user feedback, don't go and start giving unnecessary feedback where they don't ask you. Don't go and start telling the person what is not needed. Also, when you are using icons, don't go and use icons that are so repetitive. Okay, don't do that. You want to make sure you only put information that are needed. Now when you go to a website, for instance, let's take a look at something. You see these two websites now under information. You see these two websites. Now watch. This icon, search, this search icon, this search icon, this search icon, this search icon, that are close to these things, they are now a little bit more redundant. Okay, yes, they probably put it there so that you can easily know that you have to just click on it and it searches. But take a look at how Shutterstock made their own. Instead of search and it becoming boring, they've replaced it with images related to that. You now, if you are performing a heuristic audit, which of these two features will you rank the best? For me personally, I'm going to rank the one on Shutterstock higher. That means if I'm to design a website like this, we are going to implement ours the way Shutterstock have done theirs. That is heuristic audit for you. These are things you begin to check. Common sense based on those words, principles. Okay, and then 10, help and documentation. It's best if the design doesn't need any additional explanation. However, it may be necessary to provide documentation to help users. Now, because of this particular number 10, that is why when you download a new app, they have this onboarding stage that tells you what the app does, where to do this, just for the first time, so you get yourself familiarized. Because it is a known principle that users tend to just download apps and start using without reading through documentations. Okay, how many of you, the first time you bought a phone, you started reading through the Apple manual or the Android manual before starting to use your phone? No. Immediately you bought it, you on phone sharp. In fact, it was after you on the phone, you now read charge for at least 4 hours. You now started, hey, whoa, you offed it and went to plug it in. Okay, so users always tend to start using products immediately they download it. So the best you can do, everything should be clear for users, to especially users will be coming with experience from other apps that they've used. So make sure you mix things. They should be able to remember things. It should match real world. Okay, when you are designing, it should match real world cases. But at the same time, there are some places you might need to help, give users, especially using things like contextual informations. I didn't explain number 9. I think I explained number 9, but I browsed it through. Okay, let me finish help and documentation. Now, using of two tips. Okay, there are some places you go to, especially if you are introducing new things, you can decide to use what? 2 tips, so that when the person hover on it, they get this contextual information that this is for this, and they'll be like, oh, okay, good. Okay, let's go back to number 9. We said recognize, diagnose, and recover from error prevention. Example, the 404 page you people designed. If you notice, most of the one I started giving thumbs down, they just said error 404. Oops, you've fallen into error 404. What is the person supposed to do if he's falling into error 404? Help the person understand and at least be able to, recover from it. Example of trying to recover from error 404 is you can now give the person related places the person can go to, or things like go back to home page, or visit our help center, or related, important pages on your website. You fix it there. You have helped the person recover from running into error 404. So these are the reason why we take some of the design decisions we take. So you as a UX designer, anytime you are designing, you are to consider these 10 usability heuristics, these usability benchmarks. Anytime you are designing, you are to consider them. As you are designing, you are asking yourself questions. Is it matching this? Am I failing in any way? But chances of you designing and everything is 100/100 is 0. It is 0. Example, like Jenny Sub just said, even the error 404 is too technical. Example, exactly. Now that is why there was someone that submitted error 404 design, and I said the user does not know what error 404 means. That is why when you have those error 404, they will now come under and tell the user what just happened. Maybe, oops, this page you are looking for does not exist on our website. But you can actually go back to homepage or check out this or visit our help center. Now you can see why error 404s are designed that way. It is not a mistake. It is basically helping the user recognize, diagnose, and recover from error. Okay? Another example of recognize, diagnose, and recover from error. Before now, whenever you send a Gmail, right? Whenever you send an email on Gmail, before last 3 years or last 2 years, once you send, you don't go, even if it's a mistake, you do. But because of this thing like recognize and recover from errors, now when you send a Gmail out, when you send an email out, you just see one small pop-up telling you that you can actually cancel that mail. Okay? So if it was now a mistake, you can see they've been able to provide a solution for you to actually retract the email without sending it. Okay? And WhatsApp also have that feature whereby when you send someone a message and it was a mistake, if it was error, you could actually delete it. Sharp. But please don't go and try GB WhatsApp users, so they will see it. So so that is number 9. So when you are designing, it's always good to make sure you try your user, recognize, diagnose, and recover from error. Another thing with recognize, when they say recognize, if you are filling a form and you just see red background, you know that there is error. Okay? So you know that there is error. The user just sees the red and the what? Exactly, or the edit feature, yes. The user sees the red color and automatically knows that, something is wrong. Okay? There's nobody here that if you are trying to make payment and the field changes to red, you'll be like, this thing don't work, it go work. No, you just know that there's a problem. But when you see green, you'll be so happy, right? Imagine you ask someone for urgent 2K, then the person just send you screenshot. You open that screenshot, you just first see one red color. You could just know, say, kai, network, wahala. This urgent 2K no go reach my hand. Okay? So, exactly, so you should know. So Adobe Photoshop does this help and document for the exactly. So now, Chiebuka, you are understanding the reason behind all those things. So you now, as a UI UX designer, when you are also designing, these are the things you should keep in mind. That is what will make your product good, usable, or not. Okay? So now let's take a look at the workbook. So this is the workbook, and how do you use this workbook? Okay? If you come to the first one, under visibility, you write it out. Okay? Remember, first, you put your name, evaluator, you put your date, the date of the evaluation, you put the product, and then the task. The task now could be signing up, or it could be purchasing an item. It could be submitting a form. It could be writing an article. The task, please use this workbook for one task. Don't go and use one workbook for all the whole task on the project. No. If you are conducting a heuristic study, it's based on task. So for instance, I come in here, I can say, okay, the task I want to do is to search for images. Now you can see immediately I begin to notice that problem, that immediately I search for images, I no longer see my result. Then I write it down. right? I come in there, I write it down. And then issues, you write down the issues under visibility of system status. Then what are the recommendations? Remember, like I told you guys, it is common sense, like someone mentioned, common sense and observation, but based on these principles. So you are saying visibility of system status, the design should always keep users informed. So in this task of submitting the form, when I submitted the form, did I get feedback? You can now say no issues. You can say, okay, I got feedback, right, when form was submitted. Okay, now you don't really have any recommendation, so there's no need to actually add anything here. You can just mark it and then no issues. But if you discover issues, you put it here, issues. Now they will now ask you, with your common sense, how do you think that this can be fixed? That is what makes you a UX designer, right? You come up with ways of fixing it. Now remember, when you are doing it, you can now open other sites to see how other sites, what happens when you also submit form on those other sites, and know if there are little things you could pick from those people and then recommend here. Like if I was carrying out on free pick right now, I will now say something like replacing this search, okay, these search icons with images instead of the search. And this search is this plenty icon of search is almost like irrelevant information that the user need. Too much of search buttons, okay, is too much. You have search button here, fine, but under this one, search, no, these are keywords. You can see the way these people use their image. It is a better implementation. Okay, so you take note of that. You come to matching system with real world. You start checking, is there any icon that is looking alien? You write it down. Issues, so icon did this. Recommendation, we should change it to so and so. Now, like I said, how do you get this recommendation? As a new UI designer or UX designer, you can open other websites and also try carrying out the same function, the same task on those websites and see how their own was done. You can open up to like 5 websites, then your own will be the first one. Okay, this is practically how it's done, especially as you are just starting and you don't know which is which, but you are observing. You open up to like 4 or 5 websites, your own being number 1. You said, okay, I want to carry out this task, I want to submit a form and see whether it matches with visibility of system status. You submit the form, you take note, you observe what happens on your own. You go to the other website, you submit, you observe everything. Now maybe in your own, the success button is just one small thing that used to appear and say success, but on the other people's website they dedicated an entire landing page for you to say congratulations, you have done this, you have done this, you have done this. Okay, you can now say, okay, let's use that one. That one is better. What is, you are asking a relevant question. Why is it duplicating? It's an interactive PDF. If I type something here, it comes here. If I come here and change this one, that is it. It's an interactive PDF. Okay, but you know, when you are doing your own, they just provided this as a sample. When you are doing your own, I will show you how you can also make it on Microsoft Word, right? You must not use this PDF. Rather, you are copying the structure of this PDF to your own, so it must not be this PDF. It's an interactive PDF, that's why it's behaving like this. Okay, so you come to match system. You always make sure you put the definition and check, will users be familiar with the terminologies used in this design? Do this design controls follow real world convention? You check those tasks. While completing the task, you observe. If you notice any issue, you write. If you notice any, if you now, based on the issues, you can recommend. Okay, that's how you carry out a heuristic audit or a heuristic evaluation. Now this same document I have this one here, and I will also share this with you guys. So like I said, sometimes you can actually complete the 10. You can use the 10, or you can use the ones you want. Okay, you can pick the ones you want, maybe 5 or 4 or 10. or 10 or 6, depending on what you want to check. It all depends on the task, okay? It all depends on the task you are asked to carry out the heuristic audit on. So you pick it. You can see that this place, I have this. So this particular one is for multiple screens. So you can say, okay, under recognition and recall, on this screen, you did this. On this screen, you did this. On this screen, you did this. On this screen, all the issues you have, you can write them down here, and then recommendation, and then you can rate it. You can say on this page, for this particular task, on this website, you can decide, okay, you want to rate from 0 to 5. Okay, 5/5 means very good. 1/5 means very poor. 2/5 means okay. So once you finish, you get the screenshots here. Put the screenshots here. Put the screenshots here. Put the screenshots here. Then you make your comments. You make your recommendation, and then you rate it. Remember, it must not always be bad. If it is good, you can go ahead and make it 5/5. So this is how you create like a report of your analysis. Okay, so I'm going to also share this with you. Now you can see on this report we only use recognition and recall, aesthetic and minimal design, consistency and standard, and flexibility of use. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We only use 4 for this particular one. So if you are using 5, make sure you add all the 5. And it's always important when you type in what you are made the benchmark. If you type in the benchmark, you write a short description of the benchmark. Now, if you are looking for the short description, they are the ones we saw here. The descriptions are basically the ones we saw here, okay? The ones we saw here. These are the descriptions, okay? You can always come here. Let's say you want to look for user control and freedom. You type it, you come here and copy this short description and paste it, okay? Then you begin to observe and then identify issues, and that is it. I think that's basically how you conduct usability heuristic audit. Okay, so the next thing is for you to now start doing practicals. So you have the workbook, you have all these things, available informations to you. Okay, and I've shown you some typical examples that we've noticed. Like I told you, this search, anytime you search and enter, whatever you search goes away. Okay, so I want to make sure it is there. Okay, and the same thing here. You can see the way it remains here is better for me. And here, they went and put it here. It is not okay here. They should put it inside the search box so that I can always remember it. Okay, so you can also see here. Let's take a look at here again. You can see they didn't give me options, but here I have options, which is good. Here also I have options, which is good. Okay, so you take note of all these things. You can see the task we carried out here was what? Searching. How to search for product. And then we notice this issue here, and we notice this one issue under here. And for this one, this will be our ideal one. This is very great. Okay, if we now want from here, we can iterate. So let me take questions and we close this session. I hope you guys have actually learned something. Okay, honestly, UI UX is just beyond using Figma. Exactly. So like I said, if you just know how to use Figma, that means you are a Figma operator. Companies don't hire Figma operators. Instead, they hire UI UX designers. So that's why it's important for you to go through those lessons on the portal. Again, I'm saying it again, they are informational. They are not technical. When we get to technical ones, I'll let you know. Because next week, we are entering interviews. How to conduct interviews. How do you set your questions? And thank God we have AI to even help us do research. Okay? So don't fret. We are learning things the way it's done in 2023. If you meet any designer that tells you, me, I don't use AI, knock the person. The person is either lying or the person is just fake OG. Okay, great. That's a good one from Abimbola. So the essence of this thing is for you people to get clarity on some of these things without getting confused. Okay. So now, if you want to conduct heuristic audits, just know it is not one website that you use. Because if you use your own, let's say you are asked to come and conduct heuristic study on a website, don't just use that website. You are going to open websites that are related to that website or different other websites based on the task. If the task is to make a purchase on that website. Open other e-commerce websites. Then as you are making the purchase, you have to be observant. Then you start taking note of what is wrong or what is right. Like I said, it must not be wrong. If it is right, give it to them and say, okay, while I was completing this task, everything was okay. 5/5. Are we together? You give them 5/5. Now, when you now see those errors, you say, okay, based on this heuristic evaluation, this is not correct. We are missing something here. This is 1/5 or 0/5. Now remember, sometimes when you are carrying out heuristic study in the real world, okay, in the real world, what happens is that because if one person is doing it, it will take forever. In the real world, what person is that the company can hire like 10 UX auditors, okay. In fact, if you are UI UX designer and you are part of that, you are automatically a UX auditor. Just follow them form, right? After everything, they will collate all the errors that were noticed by different people. Like I said, one person might not notice all the errors. They will now collate all the errors that were noticed by different people, and then synthesize them and then read through all the recommendations, and then they send in the reports. From there, we will start adjusting all those things. That is basically how you build products, usable products. Okay. Now, like I said, heuristic audit is a form of research, and it is also a form of empathizing with the users. Okay, because if you don't understand the users, you might not be able to pick out some of these things. But it's a form of research whereby you get to find out usability issues with that product by using that product as if you are the user and benchmarking it based on some of these things, the 10 these things we just listed. Okay, so like I said, don't go and start cramming this. Don't cram it. I beg. I'm begging you in the name of God. Don't go and cram it. You always keep it with you. It's like a gun. You keep it with you as bullets. Okay, you keep it with you. Anytime you want to conduct heuristic studies, you consult it again and then follow it like that. Okay. Any question? We've taken extra 23 minutes, so I would like to round up here. It's time for me to go. But before I go, 2 minutes. If I don't see any question in the next 2 minutes, then we'll go ahead and round up. 2 minutes. So next week we are entering interviews. So you understand how to conduct interviews, how to ask your questions, So you understand those ones. So Mr. Kizito, I'm expecting your DM on Telegram because I've not approved any of your design. And to be honest, that's because the designs are not working. Now, I don't want you guys to just be, one of the issues with most online bootcamp is you learn and then you just keep posting ugly designs online because there's no one to tell you the truth. We will tell you the truth, okay? Feedbacks can hurt. In fact, in the real world, you might spend 2 days or even 3 days working on, let's say, a logo. You will send it in, hoping you've done all your best, you have scattered work, only for the owner that paid you to say, my wife say she doesn't like the color on this logo. And then she also said you should make it pop. That is the same wife that was not there when the logo job was given to you. Now the wife has opinion, okay? And you have to just go and fix it. You can keep fixing it. You come back. My wife likes this one, but I showed it to my partner. My partner said this color is already being used. So you keep. So when you get feedback, we are trying to make sure that every design you push out there, at least as a learner, it's close to professional. Okay. Chiebuka, I thought I've approved some of your design. I approved some of your designs. So, Mr. Kizito, our goal is to make sure you start designing things that is nice. If we keep approving something that is not nice, we are not helping you, okay? Yeah, I know it can be stressful. And yes, sometimes you can also see me give you the feedback one after the other instead of giving it to you at once. Well, it's just a process, so you can also learn how to be patient with customers. You know, some clients, they know they have two feedback, they will give you one. When you finish that one and send them, they'll say, this other one too, help me do them. You now have to go back, correct that one, export it again, send to them on WhatsApp, only for them to tell you, no, I prefer that last second one you sent. And if you are not duplicating and you did not do Ctrl Z, wahala go there. Okay. Sir, there was a diagram that you said would be shared in our. Okay, I'll share it. I remember. That is that. Do you have a design to show them? If no, this. If that. Yes, I'll share it with you guys. Right? I'll share it with you guys. Okay. I think there are no other questions. So please go through those documents on the portal. They are very, very good for you. They are like vitamin C. They will boost your immunity when it comes to UX design. Okay. And for the assessment, you can see you were actually able to work with a real life interview conducted by someone. That was actually done for a real school. I just changed the name to that Wesley University. It was actually conducted for a real school for a project. Okay, so you can see. So Bumi, you can actually see that from that research, from that survey, you could actually begin to see the user's pain points, right? So sometimes why most people think UX is hard, why most people ask the question of how do we know what features to include, is because they've not actually seen a real life analyzed survey or interview, right? Once you see a real life analyzed research, your common sense will be able to start making sense out of all the data around those insights. Okay, we begin to get insights from that data. So at this point, I think I'll go ahead and end the live. So if you have any further questions, don't forget, drop it in the question and answer box. It's very important. Okay, even if you are not under guided assistance, make sure you drop it inside the question and answer box. And if you still want to join guided assistance, you are very, very much welcome, because it's getting more interesting. And yeah, okay, so thank you guys for joining in. I hope you learned something this night. I hope the heuristic audit is now clearer. You've known that it's not something that you need to swear to do, right? It's just something that requires observation, patience, and less bias, less personal bias. Observation, patience. Now you say, how will I make recommendation? Check other websites and look for the ones that align with those 10 principles. Then you make your recommendations based on that. So with this, you can make any website more usable. Okay? Yes, please don't go and use this heuristic audit on Designgate. We are still fixing a lot of usability. In fact, now if you want to try usability studies, Designgate is your number one, because we have a lot of issues on the portal, and that's because we've not actually developed the main portal. We are still it's still in the process. Okay, so if you go there, you see a lot of usability issues. For instance, most people that subscribe to guided access, when they log in, they still see pay for guided access, and they're like, I never pay, why am I still seeing pay? That is a usability issue, right? It's supposed to be that when you are not on guided access, you will see pay. When you're on guided access, you can now see book consultation. So those are some things we are still trying to fix. Okay, so you can actually use Designgate and do your first heuristic audit, so that you can know, because there are a lot of usability issues on Designgate, right? So if you want to test your skill, look for a website with plenty of usability issues like Designgate, and then test it out. Okay, thank you very much, John. So everyone have a lovely night. Good night. So I'm ending the stream now. If you have a question, drop it under the Q&A. And if you carry out any heuristic audit of any site, you can send it in inside that freelance projects group so that we can take a look at it. If I like it, you get like 5 gig or 10 gig data from Designgate. Okay, so have a good night, everyone. Bye bye.